Shine the pulse of the road and the future of flight. From viral trends, policy shifts, we cut through the traffic to bring you the stories that drive us. Your fast track guide to everything on the move starts right now. From the Billionaire News Channel studio to Mellow 947 BFM, your playlist made better. I'm Paolo del Rosario. This is Shift Happens. Today on Shift Happens, we talk about road safety, and sakto, May is Road Safety Month. But for millions of Filipinos staying safe on the streets, it is an uphill battle. Now, whether you're driving, cycling, or simply crossing the street, the risks are constant, and it raises the question, are our roads actually designed to protect us? Now, every year, thousands of lives are lost on Philippine roads, and a large portion are vulnerable road users. We talk about our pedestrians, our cyclists. The conversation is shifting. It's no longer just about telling people to be careful. It's about demanding better sidewalks, protected lanes, and a transport system that puts people before cars. But building livable cities takes more than just painting lines on asphalt. It takes sound city planning, smart public policy, and a relentless push for sustainable mobility. So the question is, how do we actually make our roads safe for everyone, and what does a livable city look like for the ordinary Filipino? At least, what's the dream of it? To help us navigate these critical issues, we are joined by a man who has spent decades advocating for better transport systems. He is a columnist, a former DOTr advisor, and a co-convenor of the Move as One coalition. Welcome to the show, Sir Robert Siy. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, Paolo, thank you so much for inviting me. And I want to also thank the Billionaire News Channel for featuring these issues. So important to have this type of discussion these days.
Absolutely, sir. And right before we went on air, what struck me was that you wanted to talk a lot about road safety in general because you felt like it's a long neglected topic despite the fact that nagva-viral siya palagi online. We talk about ways to address it, and maybe that's not talked about enough. Do you feel that's the case these days?
You know, let me just give like a few statistics, to underscore why it is such, a neglected issue. These days, on average, 35 Filipinos die every day on average because of what we call road crashes. And this is perhaps even an underestimated figure. It's now one of the leading causes of death, and globally for people who are between the ages of 5 and 25. These are like young people in their prime or with huge potential. Road crashes are the leading cause of death. And yet, there is zero spending in the Philippine budget for road safety. We spend on so many things, but there is zero budget in our national government budget for road safety. So this is really a neglected area. It's like everyone says it's someone else's business. No one claims this to be the issue that they are responsible for.
So Robbie, that's really interesting numbers. I also have to push back in some ways for those in government who are trying to do things for their own LGUs, for their own barangays, and so on. Is it enough that we're seeing, there are a few example LGUs, Iloilo in particular, and Quezon City trying to have more protected bike lanes, but is it more of an issue that we are only seeing these localized and nothing from a nationwide standpoint?
On a national basis, we are saying the right things. We hear in the national transport policy that vulnerable road users should be given priority. We also hear in the National Development Plan that pedestrians and cyclists are the highest priority in the hierarchy of road users. But when it comes to actual action. A lot of what we see, falls short of these grand, statements, and uh, and this is where I'm hoping we can raise more awareness and consciousness today with your program
Yeah.
on the things we can do about this.
So what do you say is the bigger problem when it comes to the state of road safety here? Is it the lack of education when it comes to the motorists and even the pedestrians or anyone who uses the road? Or is it really a gap of infrastructure, something that government should have invested on in the past? What is the bigger culprit when it comes to the horrifying numbers that you were mentioning a while ago?
So I would say it's a number of things. First, there has been um, a culture over so many decades that roads belong to motor vehicles. And, this culture of having, motor vehicles as the priority has shaped the thinking that uh, the speed of motor vehicles is the most important thing in designing a road to make the cars go faster, because that's what people inside their cars want to achieve. Today, I would say maybe 99% of the people who make decisions are looking at the world from the inside of a car. And this gives them the perspective of being a car owner and a car user. The problem is that when you take that perspective, uh, it makes you less sensitive to the needs of the majority who are not inside the car. So, what do I mean by this? Over the years, our roads have been gradually widened so
Yeah.
that vehicles can go faster, but we have eliminated sidewalks. We have cut down trees so that the road can get wider. We have eliminated bike lanes because we think that bike lanes make cars go slower because it narrows a road. The problem is that, in a way, these views are very much short sighted,
Yeah.
because what I'd like to point out is that when we actually neglect, the vulnerable road users, we actually endanger them considerably. So, what do I mean? Over time, what has counted most in terms of national government and local government decision making, again, is the speed that vehicles can pass on a road.
Yes, sir.
So there is very little consideration of how to make that road safer for those not in cars. So my point today is we need to turn that perspective around, because when you look at the experience of other countries that have succeeded
Yes.
in bringing down traffic deaths, road crash deaths, it's really about uh, making roads safer for everyone.
So,
Not
Robbie,
just,
I hate to
yes,
jump in right now. It feels like you're talking about a misappropriation of investment towards infrastructure that does not favor people, but rather is more favorable to those who actually have motorized vehicles, like cars, for example, trying to
yeah,
traverse the roads. The reason why I asked you to stop here was
yes,
simply because I know that you are a proponent for people-centric infrastructure,
yes,
people-centric travel as
definitely.
well. What does that mean in the whole grand scheme of things and in terms of investment? What would that actually entail?
Okay, it means that we have to build roads for all road users. In the past, the priority was, okay, we have to build the road for the motor vehicle. Never mind about everyone else, right? Never mind about the sidewalk. Now we have to think, whenever we build a road, especially major roads, how can we accommodate the needs of all road users, meaning those who use public transport, those who are walking, those who are on bicycles or light electric vehicles. So this means that we have to arrange the design of the road in a different way so that we protect and prioritize these other road users. And our view is if we do that, it actually will benefit those in cars and in motorcycles. So when you build a road like that, what happens is you give people safe, convenient, and comfortable travel options which do not require using a car. And once you do that, people will begin to shift. Many will begin to shift their travel choice away from using a car into many other, for short trips. They
Yeah.
might decide to walk. For short trips, they might decide to bike. They might decide, I don't want the stress of driving. I'll take a bus. I'll take a van. I'll take a jeepney. I'll take something else, right?
Yeah.
So all these things help to make our roads actually safer as well as more efficient and productive.
And more bearable, to be completely honest, Sir Robbie.
Yeah,
So, Robbie, we're going to
exactly.
take a quick break here. When we
Sure.
come back, I really want to focus as well on the motorists themselves and even the pedestrians, because we're talking a lot about infrastructure. But when we come back, I want to focus on the people as well. We're going to take a quick pause, a short break. Stay with us. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back. You're still watching Shift Happens. We're going to continue right where we left off. We're still joined by Mr. Robert Siy. He is one of the co-conveners of the Move as One coalitions and former DOTr advisor. Thank you again so much for being here. A while ago, right before the break, I said I wanted to focus more on the people because apart from the infrastructure being there, ibang usapan naman kapag hindi ginagamit ng mga drivers or yung mga pedestrians or the cyclists are basically not following the rules. And we've unfortunately seen it all over the Philippines, wherein there has been not a standardized, not the same way of enforcing our rules and regulations. I know the focus has been, at least in our discussion, on the infrastructure, but how big is the education that has to come from the government, that has to come from the powers that be, even some private investors, to try and make sure that if these infrastructures are in place, na masusunod siya?
Yeah, Paolo, let me give an example of this. Sad to say, we are a country where pedestrian crossings have no meaning, have no safety, impact for pedestrians. I think this is a sad thing because perhaps because of maybe lack of sufficient education and also lack of consistent enforcement, most drivers choose to ignore, pedestrians that step into the pedestrian crossing. But this needs to be corrected in different ways. And for me, enforcement changes behavior, especially enforcement that is like consistent and constant. So I am very much in favor of, for example, camera-based apprehension.
Okay.
So this is also called no contact apprehension or NCAP. And many NCAP systems now are also assisted by AI so that spotting, violations are in a way are handled in a very systematic and accurate way. Of course, you need to train the AI agent in order to detect a particular traffic violation. But once it knows that violation well, it can run 24/7, right?
Yeah.
So actually, if Filipinos know that there is 100% probability that they will be apprehended for a violation, their behavior changes. So that is one part of it. We need to actually shift into enforcement that is consistent, fair, and not reliant on, a traffic enforcer on the side of the road that can negotiate on whether or not you have to receive a ticket, right?
Yeah.
So if it's automatic and consistent, we will see behavior change.
You know, that brings up a good point here. You mentioned that possibly the use of AI could help standardize all of the judgments. At the same time, though, I would also argue, just to push back, because I know some people are scared of AI in general taking human work. And to be honest, I understand that fear. But you take a look at a place like, for example, let's go to Clark, wherein they have a reputation already that if you do not follow the road rules, the road say any violations there would actually be meted out properly and actually be dealt with accordingly. At least that's a reputation that they have, and I've seen it at work personally myself. The question now is that can that actually be implemented in your mind, given the state of the roads in the Philippines at the moment, more regularly beyond Clark? Or do we actually have to start leaning on technology to make this a reality?
Well, the cameras do not cost much. And I would say uh, the the amount that would be collected from fines uh, certainly would be more than sufficient to pay the capital cost of many of these technologies. So I would say if we had uh, cameras on every intersection, I think they would be a good deterrent against bad traffic behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And it would also, I think, help deter crime.
Yeah.
So there are so many benefits with having that type of technology assisting us. So I'm a big, in a way, proponent or advocate of using new technology
Yeah.
to help us make our streets safer.
So, Robbie, first of all, a correction on my end. I mentioned Clark a while ago. I meant Subic as yung nakatakot kung naka-violation ka in particular. Yeah.
Sure, sure.
But that also brings up a good point that you mentioned, especially no contract apprehension and using AI and technology. Some people say that while they do support it, they are not a fan of how they find out that they actually have violations is when nagre-renew sila ng lisensya or maybe for registration ng vehicle nila. Are there other suggestions that you would give when it comes to implementation of this technology for a more real-time notice for all of
You
these
know,
violations?
for me, if you can afford a car or motorcycle, uh, you should also, the assumption is that there is a a mobile phone that should be associated with
Mm,
every vehicle, so uh, there is no reason. Already we have the name, the address of the vehicle owner. I believe there is no reason why there shouldn't be a a mobile phone that is associated with every single motor vehicle.
mhm.
And for me, that could be a good solution. Once there is a violation, the vehicle owner would receive a message to ask who was driving this particular vehicle at this particular time, right? And then there could be a way of determining who would be the person committing the violation. But the important thing about that is uh, in a way, the feedback
Mhm.
is immediate. And this addresses the issue of many vehicle owners only finding out about the violation when it's time for registering the vehicle, right?
Yeah.
It's only months later then they see, oh, meron palang mga violations and I have to pay this fine. But if the violation is informed to the owner immediately, it it actually will be, I think, a much better system. And it's not rocket science. It already exists in so many other countries and cities all over the world.
You know, Sir Robbie, I wish you were here because I would love to have a, not necessarily debated, but at least, ask more questions about some of the points that you have brought up, because it's really interesting, especially when you come into the use of technology with all of this. Now, again, in interest of Road Safety Month here, when we talk about the biggest issues that we have to address, we could go through a laundry list. But in the interest of time, since we're running out, what do you feel is the most egregious point of road safety that we as a society have not talked about or addressed here in the Philippines?
You know, for me, every life is precious. We need everyone to embrace that. If we can save, a life, right? We talked about what, the 4-year-old Malia Masongsong, who on May 4, that was a year ago, she was one of the victims of that fatal crash.
Yes, in Naiya.
At Naiya. And you see, we have to think, how can we protect every single person like that on our roads? Whatever they are doing, whether they're in a car, on a motorcycle, walking, or on a bicycle. So once we have that as our value, we need to find ways to ensure. And it's not just about teaching people or better enforcement. It's also about creating the infrastructure and the road design that will protect people. So, for example, we have sidewalks because pedestrians need to be separated from motor vehicle traffic. And again, that same philosophy applies to vulnerable road users who are in bicycles or light electric vehicles. Some people are saying today, well, wala naman gumagamit ng mga bike lanes.
Yeah.
But what we have to recognize is the bike lanes that we have today are very unsafe and very low quality. We have to go a long way in order to create a really safe and protected bike lane. And once we do that and have bike lanes that are continuous, I believe we will have many more Filipinos, millions more Filipinos on bicycles. Especially today, we are seeing our oil crisis. Many people will have no other option because of the cost of fuel and the cost of public transport. No other option except walking or cycling. We need to make it possible for them to do it safely. Let us not tell pedestrians and cyclists to stay at home for their own safety. That is the wrong approach. We need to create safe spaces on our roads, and that needs to be done today.
So, Robbie, really appreciate you coming on and giving us all these points. I agree with you. Active mobility, sustainable mobility, and of course, more people-centric infrastructure is needed in the country. There are so many ways to go about it, and you gave a lot of great points. And hopefully, we can have more people invested in road safety after today. Sir, we really appreciate you being here. He is a former DOTr advisor and the co-convenor of the Move as One Coalition, Mr. Robert Siy. Maraming salamat po. Thank you so much for joining us.
Maraming salamat din, Paolo, and I'm happy to be back anytime. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And that concludes our roundup of the stories driving the industry forward. Ako po si Paolo del Rosario. Join us again tomorrow on Shift Happens, your fast-track guide to everything on the move.